Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for my live reaction and player ratings live stream following Chelsea 1, Leicester City 0. As we're also, keeping a look at Manchester United versus Arsenal, which is about to start as well. But yeah, we got the 3 points. It wasn't particularly pretty. My apologies, guys. I'm extremely tired and I've got a headache. So please bear with me. It will have to be a collaborative effort today. There might be a few things that I missed or whatever, didn't pay enough attention to. Like I say, tired and a headache. So help me out, talk to me, rack with me. And let's see what we made of this game. Because, hey, we got the 3 points. We're back in the top 4. Which is nice. We've got Marc Cucurella, who's not sure now if he's Marcos Alonso or Marc Cucurella, but even that's kind of a bit harsh on Marc Cucurella because Marcos Alonso was great at scoring goals, not great at much other, or many other things. Marc Cucurella instead is an absolute world beater and arguably up there for player of the season now. Genuinely is. I mean, obviously Caicedo I would probably still argue is top, but I think Marc Cucurella has overtaken Cole Palmer because Cole Palmer has gone from being the coldest man on the planet to being lukewarm and being kind of unbearable, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Got a penalty today. The goalkeeper absolutely got in his head. Terrible pen. Saved by the referee. Sorry, not by the referee, but the goalkeeper. We also got absolutely robbed on at least 2 occasions by this ref, by the way, in my opinion. Now, there was some debate on whether on the Neto challenge, whether the opposition played the ball. I didn't see it. Maybe I'll have to see it back. Didn't look like that to me. There was one early in the game, which I can't lie, I haven't seen because I was on the toilet. Like the second or third minute of the game, I saw a few people telling me that should have been a penalty. It wasn't. So there you go. Make of that what you will. And then the one at the end, when it hit Connor Cody's elbow. And when Jadon Sancho's shot was literally going at goal, and it just hit him in the elbow, that was clearly, extending his body. But they just didn't care. They just didn't care. So I don't know what happened there. It could have easily been a more comfortable win. Obviously, we had one penalty that we missed, but we should have had more penalties even after the 1-0, or at least one more after that. The hands penalty was after that, I think. So there you go. That should have gone better. Unfortunately, it didn't though. And overall, it is a little bit depressing because, I mean, it's Leicester. They're second worst team in the league. They're really not very good, even though they honestly didn't look that bad today, if I'm being honest. It wasn't pretty as a whole, was it? Ladies and gentlemen, get involved with me. Talk to me in the chat. Let me see, then I can make things happen here. Very interesting lineup today as well, because there was a few changes that I personally, at least, didn't necessarily see coming. So we'll get that up on screen and discuss that for a second. Let me just make sure you can actually see it, because StreamYard nowadays doesn't work as well as it once did anymore. There you go. Now we can see the lineup. Let me make it a little bit like this. No, like this is good. So Rob Sanchez returned into goal after, for the last few weeks, Philip Jørgensen has somehow been our Premier League goalkeeper, and Rob Sanchez has become the Cup and Conference League goalkeeper. Robert Sanchez playing in Copenhagen last Thursday. Everybody expecting Philip Jørgensen to come back into the goal for the Premier League. But no, we stuck with Rob Sanchez. Now, we kept the clean sheet, to be fair, which is wild because that doesn't happen very often nowadays. But, not for a lack of trying from him. Because what on earth was he trying when Tosin nearly scored an own goal? Sanchez came out flying, missed the ball completely. Tosin heads it against their own bar, and then Cole had to clear it. But yeah, we had Sanchez at the back. And the other big thing, Wesley Fofana making his debut from injury, which was fantastic to see. Played a good, I'll need to look at the minute. I think I would guess probably 60, 65 minutes that he played before being replaced by Trevor Chalobah. And he played well, to be honest. It didn't look like he's been out at all, if I'm honest. Like, obviously, the way Leicester played, they didn't exactly challenge us much at the back. So it was definitely a comfortable or an easy game or a good game for Wesley Fofana to come back into the fold. But yeah, otherwise, it wasn't particularly surprising, really. All the players that didn't play against Copenhagen, except Palmer and Caicedo, started, really. So obviously there was a few others in there as well, don't get me wrong, but I think in terms of, Sancho comes in and Kunku comes in, Pedro Neto comes in, it's more from that perspective. But yeah, Bob, this is my question. What has been going on with Palmer recently? I don't know, because obviously it's the penalty, and so he was always going to miss a penalty at one point. He scored 12 in a row. It was never going to be a forever lasting streak. That was always unrealistic. He was probably going to miss one at some point, and it was a bit of a shame because he could have had one other penalty at least for the latest, the last one. He wasn't on the pitch anymore, so he wouldn't have been able to take that one anyway. But there was also other moments where like shots that he blasted like 10 yards over the goal. There was a counterattack quite shortly before he was subbed off, where he should have played in. Should have just fed it through to Enzo Fernandez, who was making a great run next to Palmer, and he just didn't pass. He just stuck to the ball, got pushed out wide by the defender, tried to shoot, got blocked, and did absolutely nothing with it. Like, it's really bad at the moment. Like, I know it's obviously a play on words from Cole Palmer to lukewarm Palmer, but that's genuinely what it feels like. Like, he's so lukewarm at the moment. Like, it's so average. It's genuinely a bit scary. And some people have been saying maybe he's playing with some sort of injury. Some people are even assuming or suggesting like maybe it's a hernia like Enzo Fernandez had last year. But I'm like, surely if that's the case, he wouldn't be playing all the time. Like, he's playing more than nearly anybody else aside from Caicedo. So I don't really know why that would be the case. Fire Red says Maresca is clueless. I'm losing faith in him. Honestly, bro, I'm so like, I get it. Like, it's so boring. It is so unbelievably frustratingly boring. But it's like, it feels like it's half our attack at the moment. Like, we've not got a striker. We're playing Pedro Neto up front, who was, not bad today, but wasn't doing much. We've got Nkunku at left wing, who's the biggest waste of space of football I have literally ever seen in my whole entire life. Then you've got Cucurella sometimes out wide, who's a great player, scored a fantastic goal today, but he's not a threat from a wide area. He's not going to play the fantastic cross. He's not going to have the most outrageous link-up play and, beat a man, dribble past everybody and stuff. So it just means that we basically have no threat from the left. Now, I say that, I know obviously Cucurella himself then ended up scoring from the left, but in terms of general play, how did oppositions need to defend against us, there's just nothing happening on the left. We just do everything on the right with Caicedo, with Enzo, with Sancho, and with Neto dropping and drifting over to the right-hand side as well. There's just nothing on the left. And we can talk about Maresca with that, absolutely. Part of it is obviously Mudrik's doping ban. Part of it is obviously Madueke's injury, which means Madueke can't play on the right. Now Sancho's playing on the right, even though I actually think Sancho is at the moment doing better on the right than he did on the left a few weeks ago, if I'm being honest. So I guess that's a small positive. One other positive is Caicedo didn't get himself booked. Therefore, he will not miss the Arsenal game next weekend, which is nice. But yeah, there you go. On this note, Fire Red says, risking Caicedo the whole game, knowing he's a yellow card away from missing big games coming up. Well, I mean, it worked out, so you can't be too harsh about that. Obviously, Caicedo will have been aware of that and made sure he didn't get himself booked, which I guess worked out. So that is a positive. But yeah, we can talk about clueless, not clueless. See, for me, a manager isn't like really good for the first 6 months or 4 months of a season and then bad for 3 months after that. I don't personally think that that's quite how it works. So I think to have a real judgment of is he good, is he not, we need to see how next season goes. But obviously, I know we're Chelsea fans. We are used to managers not lasting. Like, I've discussed this many times on here. I've discussed this on my podcast with Pys, with CFCPys, Chelsea Unfiltered. Link is down in the description. Latest episode was out on Friday after the Copenhagen game, and we will have a new episode out for you probably Tuesday evening. Hopefully, we will try to get it out Tuesday evening. But yeah, we're not used to having managers for a sustained period of time. We're not. But I think he's one where to really judge whether he's doing any good or not doing good, we need to see it a bit longer because he's not had more than one season anywhere. So you need to see if, some managers, sometimes a new idea, like even if you look at someone like Maurizio Sarri, he has proven at other clubs where he was allowed to stay longer than at Chelsea, that his system starts well, then has a little bit of a kind of drop, a little bit of a dwell, and then starts really picking up. And I'm not saying that's necessarily going to be the case with Maresca, but it could be. So there you go. I would rather give it some time. But my next thing with this is Fire Red. If we were in a position where we had Roman Abramovich and Marina Granovskaya and we were a proper team, and I'd be like, well, if we sacked Maresca, we would get a serious name manager in. Otherwise, we would try to get, I don't know. I don't really know many good examples because most managers are in jobs right now. And how on earth are we getting anybody out of any job with the way we are being run? But the thing is, if we do sack Maresca, I'd be very confident that we'd probably get a worse manager after. And that's why I'm like, I don't really want to sack him, if that makes sense. David says, by the way, thank you for your comment, David. He says, can we finally admit Enzo, Cucu, and Caicedo are the best players this season? I would still argue that Palmer is within this conversation. I think Palmer has been poor this year in 2025. But that's been like just over 2 months, right? While for the first 4 months, 4.5 months of the season, he was great. So I wouldn't go quite as far as saying Palmer isn't in there anymore. And there's still 2 months left of the season, 2.5 months left of the season. So let's see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, those three with Palmer for me are definitely the ones that are mostly up there. I mean, Enzo Fernandez had not the best start of the season either, and then started picking up towards, well, not recently. I don't want to say recently. He picked up, when he initially split from his wife, even though he's supposedly back together with her now. But yeah, there you go. David with another comment. He says, Enzo overall inability is our best midfielder. There's a reason Real Madrid wants him as the new Kroos. I didn't know that they want that. I'm not sure if that's not more us, portraying things into things, but there you go. Is he our best midfielder? I think it's difficult to compare. Him and Caicedo have very different strengths. I wouldn't necessarily say he's ahead of Caicedo. I wouldn't say he's behind Caicedo either, though. There you go. Easy Adventure says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually miss Jackson. His runs were underrated, and the pressure he put on defenders is missing. Well, 100%. I can believe you were saying this. I very much believe that. I tweeted this, by the way. This very second he got injured, I was like, this might be the best thing that could happen to Nicholas Jackson, because people will now start realizing how important he is to us and maybe stop hating him as much. So I was not surprised by this one whatsoever. Sorry, easy to front you like that, but there you go. For me, it was very obvious that was going to be like that. But there you go. We just have to hope and pray that he's back soon. Obviously, we've got Copenhagen the second leg on Thursday, and we've got Arsenal on the weekend, and then we've got the international break, and everything coming into place. Jackson should be back fit after the international break, but we'll have to wait and see. Fire Red says, by the way, great pods. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you, Fire Red. Everybody else, be like Fire Red. Check out the podcast. Link is down in the description. Like I say, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whichever you prefer. Most people use at least one of them. If you don't use either of them, well, just you can listen to it for free on Spotify. I mean, even if you don't have an iPhone. Gabriel says, please, what happened to Palmer? Bro, I don't know. I would love to know, but I don't know what has happened to Cole Palmer. Farad also says, yeah, I agree with you. It would be a worst appointment. Yeah. How have you been, Laurenz? Well, good in general, other than very tired and headache today. So that's that. But otherwise, very good. Thank you for asking. Mazza says, Enzo, lovely to watch today. 8 from me. Yeah, I agree. Well done. Well done. I'm not in disagreement. Neto's work rate is insane. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, that was his only insane bit today. But there you go. Yeah, like Mazza said it as well. Love the pressing from Neto today, 100%. David, Enzo, 8 minimum. Palmer and Cuckoo a 9. Sorry. Palmer a 0 and Cuckoo a 9. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. We might get to that. Hard fought win. Can't complain. We've been finding it hard these days. We move. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because on the one hand, obviously, you go out of a game like this, and we're in a top 4 scrap or top 5 scrap, and we just need to get the points. And we did get the points over the last few weeks when we played in the Premier League, which is nice. But it's obviously what's coming up. You know that we've got Arsenal. Now, after that, it's obviously Spurs, and Spurs are terrible. But even that, it's a big game. And the way we're playing at the moment, we're not really particularly good at anything. We're not good at defending. To be fair, kept a clean sheet today, but we're not good at controlling games. We're not good at defending. We can't counterattack. We can't break down low blocks. We can't take our chances. We can't, we're so limited. So, yeah, it is a little bit scary at the moment. Like, even a Copenhagen game, of course, a bit of a different team than what turned up today. But, I mean, we kind of put more focus on today's game and kind of took a bit of a risk in a Copenhagen game with a lesser lineup in that, almost to focus on this. And now we scrape a 1-0 win against Leicester at home. I mean, I know, robbed by the ref on at least one penalty, but still, it's not impressive at the moment. It really is. Ricky says, clean sheet, oh my days. Yeah, it's true. It's shocking, isn't it? It's absolutely shocking. Gabriel says, I've been trying to cut Nkunku some slack, but as I watched him today, I found it difficult to see what he brings. But I have not been trying to cut him some slack. I said during the game in our group chat, I was like, the only thing Nkunku deserves is having both legs chopped off. You know what I mean? Like, how there was the guillotine and, people had their heads chopped off? Yeah, and Cucurella don't deserve that, but he certainly deserves his legs chopped off, because, my God, it's unfair that some people can't walk, and then you have someone like Nkunku who just wastes all of his ability and talent and walkability on a football pitch like this. Earns hundreds and thousands of pounds every week to be this shit. It's a bit embarrassing. Karan says, Palmer is getting more selfish every game. I could at least see 4 to 5 clear passes to Nkunku, but he just ignores him. Palmer is feeling the pressure. Honestly, I didn't even notice one to Nkunku. The main one to me was one to Enzo. Now, not passing to Nkunku, I totally understand, because it happened not long ago, but Palmer passed to Nkunku, and Nkunku couldn't be bothered to run after him. So if I'm his teammate, I'd probably also not pass to him anymore, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I agree that he's getting more selfish. I actually agree with that. Now, do I understand that a little bit? I think obviously it's getting to his head a little bit now that he stopped scoring, that he can't get a goal, even penalties. He's not scoring now. I just think it's getting to his head, and that's why he's trying too hard to score. That's why he's choosing not to pass it in certain moments, because he just wants to get his goal, because he feels once he scores, it will click again and it will be fine. And I believe that too, but he just needs to get that goal. If he can't even score a penalty, bloody Speed scored a penalty. Obviously not against a professional goalkeeper, but even Speed scored a penalty yesterday. Do you know what I mean? And Josh Thurker. Do you know what I mean? Cole Palmer can't. So we're in the mud. We're absolutely in the mud. But let's get into these player ratings, shall we? I don't have forever today. I also don't want to be here forever today because I am tired and have a headache, although my headache's getting better as we're streaming here, so that's nice. As for Robert Sanchez, honestly, didn't feel like he did anything other than that one howler early on, where he was completely, like, just purely lucky. If that goes in, honestly, I'm just gonna slap his ball dead. I mean, at least he looks a bit more intimidating now, and not just like some Donny that's trying to hold onto his hairline. That's just not there anymore. He looks more like a mafia, but I don't want to say mafia boss. He looks more like a cartel handyman. You know what I mean? Like, he looks like the strong man that they send ahead, like in Breaking Bad. He's like the guy that has to get the job done. He's terrible, so gets I don't want to say the K word, gets done by some some noob on the good side. That's what Sanchez looks like now, but at least a little bit more intimidating. But as for his performance, I mean, we could look at the stats in a second, but I'd probably give it, you know what, because the mistake was so bad, even if it didn't lead to anything, I'd give it a 4.5. But yeah, I just don't really understand why he's playing. Why did he get to play today? It's unbelievable. Granted, it was so uneasy to see Chelsea defending for their lives in the last 10 minutes against goddamn Leicester. Yeah, but at least we did get it over the line. I mean, at least that. I mean, the manager literally brought on Achimpong, Fort and Kunku for the last for stoppage time, so that is pretty wild. Karan says Sanchez 4 in the first half, 6 in the second half. It's fair. It's fair. I was initially thinking 5. You know what? I will give him a 5. Your point makes sense. 4 for the first half, 6 for the second half, because he didn't do anything wrong. So a 5 it shall be overall. Now, let's get to the defenders. And I want to start with Wesley Fofana. I'm going to bring up his stats now to see if they're any good. I haven't really looked at them, if I'm being honest. So let's see how that one goes. Can you see? You can. I mean, I guess as we're on it, we can also look at the overall stats. We had 57% possession. We had a good bit more XG than they did. Obviously, this includes a penalty as well that we missed. So 1.68 XG, I still think absolutely robbed of at least one other penalty. 7 shots on target. It's not bad, to be honest. 20 shots overall, 2 big chances. Took one of them. Well, no, actually didn't take one of them. The goal we scored didn't count as a big chance, which is interesting. I guess because it was a shot from outside the box. So there you go. I mean, when you look at the goal, it had a 0.02 XG, the same as Reece James the other day. So, yeah, there you go. But let me head over to the lineup. Just to quickly get Robert Sanchez out the way. Made 3 saves. Didn't feel like he did much. Only played 14 passes, so Leicester really didn't press us at all. So it just wasn't very involved. So to still only get a 5 shows you how terrible he is. But actually, Fofana played 73 minutes, even longer than I initially thought. But yeah, good passing accuracy, only 3 misplaced passes, as a successful dribble. It's getting up the pitch, 2 out of 4 ground duels, 2 out of 3 aerial duels. Considering he came back from injury, considering people were saying like he might be out for the whole rest of the season. Well, I say people, Maresca. And now he's back in early March. Hey, he did good. And I think if he can stay fit, he will play a massive role in why we keep more clean sheets from now onwards. Now, I'm not going to say Wesley Fofana is a particular major reason as to why we kept the clean sheet today. I think the main reason is that we are a much better team than our opposition. And our opposition was mostly focused on trying to stop us from scoring, and then made it relatively easy for us in terms of defending them, except when Robert Sanchez and Tosin nearly scored an own goal early in the game. But I genuinely think, Fofana in general coming back today was very impressive. I'll probably give him a 7.5, a 7 for the base performance and a 0.5 extra because it was a comeback. That's what I would give him. Mazda says, I didn't understand that either. Boosting transfer value, I hope, for Achimpong bringing him on late on. Well, I mean, boosting transfer value, I don't think 5 minutes at the end will boost the transfer value, but maybe it helps us see our game. And honestly, I don't mind it. I don't mind that. Like, if you do it after 80 minutes already, it's too early. But doing it after 89 minutes just for stoppage time, I don't mind personally. Favole, I will never try to pronounce your first name unless you kind of want to like spell in the chat how I'm supposed to pronounce your first name. If you spell it out like in terms of vocally how I say it, I will try to say it from now on. But I'll call you Favole from now. Please, why was Jurgensen dropped? I don't know, bro. I don't know. I mean, Maresca, I only got home just before the game started, so I couldn't actually see anything that was going on pre-game and stuff. I only heard that supposedly Maresca said we have 2 good goalkeepers, so it was just a choice. I don't know. I mean, you know, there is a case to be made for it. If Maresca didn't expect Leicester to press, right? If he didn't expect them to press the goalkeeper, is Sanchez probably better on the line as a pure shot stopper than Jurgensen is? Maybe. So maybe we're not just, you know, choosing our midfielders or our shape a little bit or certain players depending on opposition. Maybe he also chose the goalkeeper depending on opposition. Because if we're getting pressed, if you need the passes from the goalkeeper, Jurgensen is far better. But if you don't need that, I maybe there's a case that you can argue that Sanchez is maybe better. I don't know, or at least not worse. But Sanchez is just more mistake prone. So that's always the counter argument for me. But well, again, Jurgensen must have said something to Maresca. Are they fighting? I mean, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I will give Fofana 7.5. We'll head over to the lineup screen back in a second. We'll next go to Tosin, who nearly scored an own goal. But it was more a Sanchez error rather than I'm saying it was a big Tosin error. Now, 8 misplaced passes. Honestly, it's too many. That's too many. 0 out of 4 long balls. That's not good enough. One a tackle, 2 out of 3 ground duels, 2 out of 5 aerial duels. That the second part is not great, especially with how tall Tosin is. I'll give him a 6.5, a 6 plus a 0.5 for the clean sheet. I'll do that, even though it's probably being kind. I should probably just stick to a 6. Levi Cole completed the most passes in the match. Honestly, barely noticed him. Also, terrible pass completion. Only 12. Not only 12. 12 misplaced passes. Not good enough. Now, 5 out of 10 accurate balls is better than 0 out of 4, like Tosin had. But it's actually more of the misplaced. So make of that what you will. 2 out of 6 ground duels. It's not great. 8 out of 10 aerial duels is nice, though. I mean, he didn't nearly score an own goal, so I'll change my mind. I'll give Coble a 6.5, and I'll give Tosin a 6. That's what I will do. Let's head over to that quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, get involved. You know, obviously, whatever I say on a rating, if you disagree or if you do agree, let me know in the chat. Like I say, for fun, I'll give a 7.5. Tosin, I will give 6. Maybe I should give Fofana 7, even despite it being his debut, if I'm being honest. But we kept the clean sheet. I got to give someone a little bit of credit. You know what I mean? So, and if I'm giving Sanchez a 5, Tosin a 6, somewhere has to be a little bit of credit. Somewhere in this game has to be a little bit of credit. Now, let me see. I saw a message by Karan. He says, yeah, I agree. Leicester are garbage at pressing, so maybe that's why Sanchez came in. Yeah, and maybe. Tosin looked better on the eye than the rest. Than the stats. Oh, it looked better on the eye than the stats did. Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna fully disagree, but I just think, like we just discussed in terms of the goalkeeper, if the opposition doesn't press, the central centre back's job really is very straightforward. Like, obviously, he had to try a few line breaking passes, but even the line breaking passes are a lot more straightforward if the opposition isn't even really trying to press you. So I get what you mean, but I also don't want to get simple hype. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. But yeah, this is my back 3. And you know what? To complete the kind of back 4, which obviously Cucurella plays it off the ball, let's switch to the lineup, the stats sheet again, and let's look at what Cucurella pulled off today. What a phenomenal goal. We looked at it earlier already, 0.02 XG. What a shot. Look at how far out that is. Like, that's at least 26, 27, 28 yards into the bottom corner. Absolutely unsavable for the goalkeeper. A goalkeeper that was having a good day, saved the penalty, you know, was high in confidence. So what a shot. Like, I couldn't even believe it. When the shot was flying in, I was like, hold up, was that Cucurella? Who is it? Marc Cucurella or Marcos Alonso? I couldn't believe my eyes. I absolutely couldn't believe it. 6 misplaced passes, very good, as high up the pitch as he played. Even had, you know, more expected XG than he had expected. Expected assists more than he had expected goals. Not sure when he should have had expected assists, but there you go. The assist, by the way, in the end, coming from Enzo Fernandez for his goal. Not much of an assist, but there you go. You'll take what you get. 1 out of his 2 shots went on target, and another one that I'm not going to say should have been better with, but there you go. 1 out of 2 crosses at least, completed 1. 5 out of 8 long balls is decent. More than half is good. 2 out of 3 ground duels. 1 out of 2 aerial duels. Marc Cucurella is literally our savior, and like him and Marcus Alonso, him and Enzo Fernandez were my two standout players today. Now you can make a case for Caicedo, absolutely, as kind of the next best, but yeah, those two were the two standouts, and it's always those two, isn't it? Like when Reece James doesn't play, it's Cucurella and Enzo Fernandez that play with the passion required. To be fair, and Neto, but he plays in a different kind of part of the pitch where the passion, the tenacity is useful and is important and shows, but it's kind of less in the middle of things. Shock doesn't play midfield, so I'm not teaching you rocket science here. Basically being Michael Owen. So there you go. This game has started. I should probably put this on my phone. Let me quickly put the Man United Arsenal game on my phone, so we can at least keep a side eye look on that. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it? What do we even want from that game? I honestly don't know, because on the one hand, I'm like, well, it's funny if United lose, but on the other hand, it's also funny if Arsenal lose. So really what we probably want is a draw, but a draw is the most boring because then neither of them lose, then we can't have a go at either of them. But there you go. That is going, should be roughly alive. So there you go. As for Marc Cucurella, Karan says it's been a good day. Chelsea won and India won as well. Not sure what India won presumably cricket. So well done, India. Gabriel, if we want to compete for top four, Maresca should rest Sanchez. Probably will. United win? You reckon? I don't know. I believe it when I see him. Kuka 8.509. I think I'll go with an 8.5. Now I kind of wanna give him a 9 if but I don't think we were overall good enough to warrant a 9, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to give him an 8.5. Even though him as an individual was very good. Now, according to FotMob, Moises Caicedo was actually the best player, was the man of the match, player of the match, with a rating of 8.6. According to them, he had one shot that, well, had still more XG than Cucurella's goal, but it was saved by the keeper, so there you go. Only 4 misplaced passes, but it's very strong. Can't complain with that. Oh, the expected assist. Who was that for? 0.42 is a lot. Who did he play in? I don't know. Would love to know. Anyway, 1 shot on target, 2 out of 2 dribbles, very good. 3 out of 4 long balls, very good. 3 out of 4 tackles, very good. 10 out of 11 ground duels. Excuse me, I clearly did not pay enough attention to to Moises Caicedo today. Hold my hands up. My apologies, Moises Caicedo. Again, I'll use the excuse that I just came home just before the game, was tired and a headache. So I'll take that. I'll use that excuse. But my God, Moises Caicedo, 10 out of 11 ground duels, 4 out of 5 long balls, 3 out of 4 tackles, 2 out of 2 dribbles. It's flipping unbelievable. Passing accuracy 93%. My days. All right then. I mean, fair play, Moises. That on top of not getting himself booked is absolutely phenomenal. So great job, Moises. Yeah, honestly, sometimes someone had a go at me a couple of weeks ago that I only go by the stats, and I absolutely don't. If anything, I go by what I come into here, have my opinion on games, and then I kind of with you, or if I have a guest with a guest, kind of have my opinion and then see what the stats say. Do they back up my opinion or do they go against my opinion? Now, sometimes stats don't tell you everything. Sometimes they tell you, oh, actually did a few more things than you thought. Sometimes they tell you, oh, we did a few more things badly than you thought. That's how it goes. But yeah, I'll give Caicedo an 8. Maybe I'll push Cucurella up to an 9 again, but there you go. We'll look at Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez created the most chances in a match. 6 chances created is absolutely fantastic from him. Obviously got the assist for the decisive goal. Had a few shots as well. Now had a lot more of this misplaced pass, but of course playing much higher up the pitch, being much more aggressive, trying to be influential on the game, on the team. 2 out of 4 shots that he at least had on target. Could have been a bit better on a couple of them. The dribbling in an ideal world would have been a tad better too. 6 out of 15 crosses. Sorry, he tried 15 crosses in one game. That's pretty wild, that, isn't it? It's pretty wild to me anyway. Still, completing 6 crosses in a game, that doesn't happen very often, so there you go. I'm not sure who completed them too. But there you go. 5 out of 2 long balls is surprisingly low for Enzo Fernandez, but still. 1 out of 6 ground duels is also not fantastic. See, this is where, like, on the eye, Enzo stood out much more to me than Caicedo did. But maybe that's not fully fair. Like I say, I was going to give Cucurella an 8.5 because I just don't think as a whole we were good enough to give out 9s. I'll give Caicedo an 8. I wanted to give Enzo an 8, but I'm not sure if the stats don't tell me that he's a little high. Well, what do you guys think? What would you give Enzo Fernandez if you had to choose a rating? By the way, at the moment, not much that's particularly crazy going on here during this Arsenal Manchester United game. But yeah, we'll get through this because I don't have forever, and everybody wants to watch this game. So yeah, let me know if you have a dramatic opinion on Enzo Fernandez's rating. I give it an 8 for now, but there's very much a case to also give him a 7.5. There's very much a case to be made for that. But we have to talk about lukewarm Palmer now. We have to. I'll open the stats up. 80 was everywhere trying to create goals. Yeah, not your game. I agree. I agree. Thank you for confirming what I think. I appreciate it. Appreciate your thoughts and your comments. Everybody that is watching, please get involved. I would appreciate it. Cole Palmer, what is going on? Completed the most dribbles. I guess that's something. Misplaced 5 passes, not too bad from that position. 1 out of 5 shots only on target. Dragged a fair few wide. It's a bit of a shame. 3 out of 3 dribbles is strong though. 2 out of 2 long balls also decent. 1 a tackle as well. 4 out of 5 ground duels. Honestly, he works. Like Cole Palmer is in a position at the moment where at least he's not one of these players that when things aren't going well, he's just sulking and not doing anything and standing around. So that is the one positive I will take from it, and the one positive that I will kind of give the situation, if you will. He is trying. He's tracking back. He's trying to make tackles. He's trying to help out. But when he comes to close in front of goal, it's just wayward. Like his shots are wildly off the mark. He takes too long to make a decision because he seems to be trying so hard to score or make something happen. So he waits too long sometimes, chooses not to play a pass when he should sometimes. Missing a penalty now as well. It's a real shame. But the fact that he was hooked as the part of the double substitution after 75 minutes, where Fofana, who obviously comes back from injury, subbed off for Trevor Chalobah, and then is Cole Palmer taking off for Tyreek George. With also the game that Christopher Nkunku has, as absolutely useless as he was, still Nkunku stayed on for longer than Cole Palmer did, and frankly, I get it. It was not long after he really messed up a major chance by not passing it to Enzo. So that's a big shame. And I will have to give Cole Palmer like a 4 today. And honestly, that 4 is purely for at least he's working hard off the ball. And I don't want to give that too much credit for a player like, in his creative position. But yeah, just to give it a little bit of credit, I suppose. As for Nkunku, I almost want to give him an NA. I mean, he was the most accurate passer to play more than 45 minutes, so that's something. Only misplaced 1 pass. But why does he only misplace 1 pass? My opinion on it is that he never tries anything. He never tries anything remotely risky. He just keeps it simple, passes it back to Cucurella, passes it back to Enzo or to Caicedo or to Palmer. He just doesn't do anything. And when he gets in a position where he could potentially do something, he had a header that was shocking. He had an attempt at, like a situation where he could have tried to shoot, but he made it way too complicated, kept the ball for too long, then got his shot like half blocked or the ball stolen off him. It's just poor. It's just really, really poor. Christopher Nkunku, I'll give him a 4 as well. Didn't even miss a penalty, but it's just such a waste of time and space, and it really infuriates me greatly. Greatly. It really, 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 really does. I'll move on to what's his face? Jadon Sancho. Now he won the penalty that Cole Palmer missed, so that was good work from him. In general, I felt he was very creative, and I felt he was the only one that was going to make something happen. Obviously, in the end, it wasn't him that made something happen. It was Enzo Fernandez and Marc Cucurella together. But obviously, like I say, he won a penalty. I think he should have won a penalty with this one as well, because this shot was so clearly blocked by a body extending elbow by Conor Cody. I cannot believe that they didn't give that. It's absolutely shocking to me. Ridiculous, a disgraceful decision. When you see the penalties that Liverpool got yesterday, it was Van Ball, but it's a joke. But yeah, as for his attacking, I mean, only 1 or 2 dribbles. That's a bit of a shame. 0 out of 3 crosses. Bloody hell, I thought that would have been better. 2 out of 6 ground duels, 2 out of 2 aerial duels. I thought it was better. I'll give him a 6, if I'm honest. Yeah, after seeing that. And as for Neto, just to get through the starters quickly, because, like I say, I don't have forever. 32 out of 36 passes, nice. It was mostly about his press that was good. Otherwise, there wasn't much. 1 out of 6 crosses, 1 out of 3 dribbles. Did he have any shots? 1 shot, and that was off target. Not the worst shot, was nearly dangerous. Let me say nearly dangerous. 4 out of 10 ground duels, 2 out of 2 aerial duels. I'll give him... I can only do 6.5, guys. I can only do 6.5. I can't give someone a 7 purely for pressing. That would be too nice. That would be too nice. Like I say, Cole Palmer gets a 4, and Nkunku gets a 4. Sancho gets a 6. and Neto gets a 6.5. I mean, tell me if you disagree, guys. Tell me if you disagree. I will highlight some more of your comments just now before we look at the few subs. So Sancho looks better from the right. Yeah, he does at the moment. He genuinely does. I actually agree. Not something I necessarily expected because he was for a while looking great at left wing. And then he started to be really terrible at left wing all of a sudden. And now he's starting to look much better at left wing, right wing. So there you go. Yeah, this was for Enzo. You agree with the 8. Remember that chance at the end of half time. Enzo crosses and Nkunku is unmarked. He heads it so poorly. No power into it, no direction at all. Yeah, exactly. But was that open play? I thought it was a corner, but it might have been open play as well. But yeah, no, I do remember it. That was the header that I was talking about with Nkunku. It's just absolutely woeful. It really is woeful, Nacho. The Demonin says, what was the explanation for that? 2 penalties denied for Chelsea. Honestly, I haven't seen an explanation. I really haven't. And now the trip, I've seen a few people tell me that the guy, like the trip on Neto, I've seen a few people say that the guy got the ball first. Didn't look like that to me, if I'm being honest. And the elbow is even more blatant. But there you go. It's referees for Chelsea, isn't it? It's just the whole concept of refereeing just doesn't work. Like, obviously, they don't. First of all, they're not consistent in terms of when VAR only gets involved for clear and obvious errors, and when they get involved for random other things. But the problem is that referees choose not to give questionable decisions based on having the VAR backup. But that doesn't necessarily fully mean that they're always sure. Like, if there was no VAR, they would sometimes give a call that they now don't. Because they're like, if it is wrong, they will tell me. Well, without VAR, they would say, okay, this could be a penalty. I'd rather not be wrong, so I'll give it, even if I'm not 100% sure. But now, in the situation that we're in now with VAR, refs don't give that. And then VAR comes, well, it's not a clear and obvious error, and that's why they don't overturn the decision. And it's just a real big mess that we need to get out of. And it is a real big mess. Karen says, imagine Prime and Gola and Caicedo in the same midfield. Honestly, I don't even think that would actually be that great because they're too similar of a player. And then we'd sit there a bit like we had in other seasons where we'd be like, we need a DM. I mean, even now we sometimes sit thinking we need a real sitting DM because you could arguably get more out of Caicedo if he was allowed a bit more freedom at times. But obviously, in terms of pure talent, absolutely would be phenomenal. Enzo's really improved and stronger, 100%, but I will give him 7.5. Fair enough. Nkunku 5. He was okay second half. I personally feel others don't get him involved after seeing his efforts. Maybe, but then show your efforts and then they will get you involved. And he just doesn't show any effort and he pisses me the fuck off. Gabriel says, Palmer just needs to keep it simple. Without confidence, he doesn't need to overdo things. Yeah, and that's why, honestly, I didn't mind that he got subbed off. I thought maybe it actually was better for him. I think he would probably get rested against Copenhagen on Thursday, presumably, and then be back for the Arsenal game. Whether that will work out particularly well or not, I don't know. Let me open up the football screen again so we can quickly go through the subs that we had on the day, which were only 3, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, exactly. We made the double sub that we discussed earlier. Chalobah coming on for Wesley Fofana and Tyreek George coming on for Cole Palmer. Chalobah, honestly, like I say, especially towards the end of the game, I was trying to set up the stream, making the thumbnail ready. And if I have a headache at the same time, my multitasking skills are even worse than they usually are. But you can tell he only played 4 passes in nearly 20 minutes with stoppage time. So make of that what you will. No tackles. Lost one ground duel, lost one air duel. I think Trevor is lucky if I give him an NA, if we're being honest, looking at those numbers. Tyreek George at least had more passes. 4 out of 6 is decent. Had a dribble. So that's nice, I guess. Had a successful long ball. Honestly, with a better touch, he could have been in for goal, but he messed up his touch. So that's that. And Josh Achapong, well, at least he had 1 pass. That was successful. I think all of these subs I will have to give an NA, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't really know what else I could do. So let me quickly write them down and then we'll go look if Enzo Maresca said anything interesting post-game that we could look at. Tyreek George gets an NA as well. And then the last one that was subbed up was Nkunku for Achampong, who also gets an NA. Now, let me open Twitter and see if we got any interesting quotes. Maresca, we had a few. Okay, interesting. So, interesting. So there's actually a few interesting quotes here for us to look at before we go to Enzo Maresca's rating. Now, the first one, we needed to change the game plan before our warm-up. And this is why I'm so happy, because we adapted. Don't forget, Arsenal were 0-0 with Leicester for 80 minutes. We created enough to be 1 goal ahead. Now, yes, Arsenal were, but Arsenal also were without having a single striker in the team. Now, neither do we, to be fair. But still, just because Arsenal have a bad game doesn't mean it's okay for us to have a bad game. But I really do wonder what that means. Like, who was supposed to be in the team that in the end wasn't, that made us change our game plan? I really wonder, because I can't really think of a major miss that we had in the team. Like, Maresca is out injured, Jackson is out injured. I can't imagine Reece James was ever planned to play. He's supposedly ill and had temperature, and that's why they wanted to be rather safe than sorry than involving him today. So that was overnight. So I don't think it was before the warm-up, particular game change of plans. Chalobah came on, so it can't have been the Fofana having to come in being the change of plans. So I don't really know who or what that would have been. Might have been an excuse. I don't know. He also says Palmer didn't feel well during the night. People need to understand the effort he made to be here. He's a top player. Yeah. I mean, that does make me feel a little bit harsh, but I don't think Palmer is in the form right now where there's much benefit to playing him when he's not feeling that well. If I'm honest, I think that's just going to exhaust him and tire him out and make him more prone to injuries going forward. If I'm being honest now, I get it with the injuries that we have and having, gotten rid of João Felix. If João Felix was still here, Palmer probably doesn't start today, purely because we have options. But there you go. And then as for the goalkeepers, he says, we have two goalkeepers. The idea is not to change them. We changed in the past, but hopefully not in the future. Right. So now he's saying he doesn't want to change the goalie anymore, and he wants to play, Sanchez every game? Honestly, Maresca is such a confusing man. Like, Maresca is such a confusing man sometimes. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We have two goalkeepers. We changed them for the whole season, but we actually don't want to change them anymore. So now what? It's just weird, man. I don't know. I think we're back to, okay, Sanchez isn't playing super badly anymore, so now Ben Roberts is given the instructions to, play him again. So that's what he has to do now. Why mention Arsenal? I don't know. Well, because they were 0-0 against them for a while. That's why. Should be loaned instead of Felix. Yeah, 100%. But no one wants him on his wages is the problem. Gabriel says, Nkunku just passes it back each time in the box. The ball sticks to his legs. He can be a waste of space sometimes. I would say all the time. Neto at least takes things seriously. It's true. Natural Gamer says, Laurenz, we had a really hard time scoring today. I reckon we'll just hit a wall. Too thick against Arsenal if we play possession. Maybe a bit more effective to play counter-attack. Don't you agree? I mean, yes, but also no, because we can't counterattack anymore either. Like, our decision-making, if we have to attack quickly, is so shockingly bad, whether it's Palmer, whether it's Neto, whether it's Sancho. It doesn't really matter who plays. It doesn't really, like, you also then miss a player like Madueke and Mudryk to play like that when you have Sancho in the team. Is he going to charge Tyreek George against Arsenal? I doubt it. Now, Neto up front, he can obviously be a counter-attacking threat 100%. But we still miss Jackson for that. And also, whether I agree with it or I disagree with it, slightly irrelevant, because it's kind of more about what the manager wants to do, and the manager isn't going to change his style dramatically. Now, I'm sure we will have a few counter-attacking moments against Arsenal. I'm sure we will. That's just how that kind of game is and will go. But yeah, my worry is that in recent times, we've been so bad at playing and, actually playing out counter-attacks and actually doing something with them, then maybe that would even frustrate me and worry me more. I'm not sure. But yeah, strange comments from Maresca again. I will give him a 7. No, I changed my mind. I'll give him a 6. Weird comments. Good team. 6.5. Okay. No. It has to be a 6, man. We've only won 1-0 against the second worst team in the league. Like, 1-0. Okay, not his fault that we were denied other penalties. Not his fault that, players are injured. Not his fault that the Cole Palmer was supposedly ill and that we don't have any backups to him that are any good. So that's why you have to play him even when he's not doing very well. But the fact that he was ill, even though and played last Thursday and played today, seems risky. But I guess that shows you under how much pressure we are at the moment to perform, because the upcoming fixtures will be a whole lot more difficult than the ones right now. Just to quickly, before we round this out, let's quickly look at our fixture list before I let you guys go. By the way, if you haven't already, guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Hit the like button for me. Every single like matters and counts and helps me push these streams out to more people. So please hit the like button. That would help me out a lot. But yeah, we've got, obviously, like I said, got Copenhagen on Thursday. Excuse me. We got Arsenal next Sunday, 2:30 my time, 1:30 UK time. Then international break, 3rd of April, which is a Thursday. What? What? I need to look at the calendar. What? I'm so confused. So we play on the 3rd of April, which is a Thursday. But what? What? Does anyone understand this, guys? How can we play on Thursday? But is it? It's like an extra week. What? I don't understand. So now we play next Sunday against Arsenal. Then the 23rd and the 30th Sundays are off. Is it FA Cup weekend again? Directly after international break? So we basically have 2.5 weeks off. And then playing the Thursday, the 3rd of April. Now, that is super weird. Yeah. I'd be a little bit scared to start Lavia, but I hear you. What is our women's team differently? Look at them. They're incredible at what they do. They are run without these bumps interrupting. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because, for example, when Stanley is still involved with them, like he was involved in getting Sonia Bonpastor, the new manager, to take over from Emma Hayes. So I don't really know. They've just got better attitude and better mentality. But I think it's a sign of how women's football is still at a different stage to where men's football is at. Like, I think women's football is at a similar stage, obviously scaled down, to where men's football was in the early 2000s, where doing the right things and, being arguably more professional and at a slightly higher level than the rest makes a bigger difference than it does now, because the standard and the average has gone up so high in the men's game that it's about much smaller details. And that's why even against the second worst team in the league, you have games like that today where they're clearly not that bad. And you scrape a 1-0 win. When Chelsea played the worst teams in the women's league, we battered them 6-7, 8-0. Now, sure, part of that is because the women's team is better, but the other part is also just that the levels are different. But it's a difficult discussion. It's a very interesting discussion for sure. But yeah, so whatever this weird date of this Spurs game is, I'll need to look at that, because 2.5 weeks between that, and then all of a sudden 3 days after Spurs we play Brentford. Now at least both is in London, but Brentford away, incredibly difficult. Ipswich, we should be beating them, but we lost to them at home. Fulham away, not easy. I think we lose or draw against them at home? Not enough anyway. I think it was a draw. So, I mean, how many points do we get out of that? Arsenal, I reckon we lose that. Spurs, I reckon we win. Brentford, at best, a draw. Ipswich, we should win. I think that would probably be a best to draw. So out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, I'm looking at 10 points. Did I even get to 10? No, I got to 8. I'm looking at 8 points from 15. Not amazing. Obviously depends on results around us. Just to quickly, look at the table as well. We are back in the top 4, which is nice, ahead of Man City, who obviously lost to a Callum Hudson-Odoi winner yesterday, which is, yeah, I mean, they are becoming more professional, and Chelsea's team are already at an extremely high level of professionalism, arguably high or at the same level as the men, or very, very close to it. But not everyone in the women's game is like that yet. That's kind of the big difference. I am not confident about the Arsenal game next week. Obviously not. I don't see us getting Champions League football next season. I think we will be in Europa League next season because of winning the Conference League. I mean, it could be. Now, when I look at it, now we are currently 4th. We are 2 points of 3rd. Now, I don't expect us to get anything next week either. But we could, in theory, close up the gap even to 2nd. Now, I think there's a good chance City overtake us. Honestly, I think Villa will still be up and down, and there will be games where they drop points unexpectedly, and there will be games where they win points unexpectedly. The same goes for Brighton, the same goes for Bournemouth, and the same goes for Newcastle. So I am actually still confident, especially that after the international break, in an ideal world, all of our injuries being back, Nicholas Jackson, Noni Madueke, both of those should be back. Romeo Lavia is already back, was in the squad today, but unused. So I think those 3 coming back and only having one more league game before the league game, that even with all of them, I don't think we'd win. I think I'm actually fairly confident that we'll make it within the top 5. And again, 5th is pretty much guaranteed to get Champions League football as well. So I believe in that. I believe in that. I don't think anyone doubts how good Palmer is. We just wish he comes back to his form. Yeah, exactly. Happy Caicedo did not get a yellow card today. Yes. So am I. But ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time we wrap this one up. I've got to get going. I've got to get a few other things done on this fine Sunday afternoon. Man United and Arsenal is the most boring game I've ever seen in the my side view mirror. it's just my phone next to me, guys. But yeah, so enjoy watching that. Enjoy, your Sunday afternoon in an ideal world. Like I say, they draw. Well, arguably it would be best for us if United win, really. But it also doesn't really matter, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. That would be really nice. Hit the like button on your way out. That would be very much appreciated as well. Everybody that's still here, hit that like button for me. I would really appreciate that. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. We go again on Thursday, and I will see you next time.